and ready to go. So I am very excited to welcome Jim Haney, good dear friend of ours, and actually a friend with Novatech as well. So I want to give them a plug. And welcome to Next Week's Life. It's great to see you, Jim.
I'm so excited to be here, Mike. Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. I think we've had a little bit of trouble the first couple times we tried this, and so we're good to go. Let's roll it. So, Jim,
Absolutely.
would you do me a favor and the audience a favor? I know you're very active in a number, and have been very active in a number of businesses inside of Novatech and prior to in your
Yeah,
previous lives. So, would you explain to the uninformed what it is that you're doing, people that don't know you?
sure.
And then I have a follow up question on what is an MSP?
What is an MSP? Man, that's a good question. All right. So I'm Jim Haney. I'm the vice president of marketing at Novatech and been in the industry, believe it or not, Mike, this is my 27th year in the industry. So I'm still
Wow.
fairly new, cutting my teeth. But been at Novatech now for 3 years, just almost 3 years. So it's been an amazing journey. Prior to that, spent a good chunk of my career over at Xerox and Global Imaging. And then, if you want to even go further back, I was with Rico for about 13 years. So, been in the industry a long time. First job out of in the industry was selling fax machines, right? When you could sell a fax machine for $14,000 and touting that 14.4 modem and all that kind of good stuff. But no, I've been excited. It's been a great experience here at Novatech. Such a great opportunity, and yeah, so uh, moved out to Nashville. Live here in Nashville, Tennessee now. Been here, like I said, 3 years.
Incredible journey. And Novatech certainly has established a reputation for being a premier provider, solutions provider in the industry over their existence. And you get
Yeah,
to work with a wonderful guy like Dan Cooper and all
it's
the
the
other crew
best.
over there. Just a great team. And frankly, for the audience, Novatech has been a huge supporter of myself and my company and the
Yeah.
Executive Connection Summit for a long time. So, Dan and team, thank you. So, if you don't mind, I'd like to come back to this MSP thing.
Yes.
So, when you started your journey in the jobs that you've been taking,
Mhm.
and now that you're in this role that you're in, a lot of people are kind of confused, I think, about various definitions: IT services, MSPs. So, in your mind, what is the critically important definer or segregation point, between what you do and the core business?
So when you talk MSP, so defining MSP as managed service provider, right? So you're providing a service that is a managed offering. So when you look at at Novatech, our core offering is the managed office. And as you know, Mike, it's not an industry term. It's something that we came up with, but it's really bringing together the best of IT, the best of print, the best of cloud and security, and really I like to say simplifying it for the customer and demystifying tech. I think a lot of times in a lot of not only our industry but others, it becomes a little too technical, right? And at the end of the day, what the customer really wants is stuff to just work, and so they can focus on their business. So what we try to do is bring it all together, demystify it, right? Give them one contact, one contract, and one number to call. I know that sounds pretty commercially, but it's the truth, and just really make it simple and a great experience for them. So when you look at managed services, we're providing a remote service in a lot of cases for them where we're not on site and can manage their technology remotely 24/7, 365 days a year. So that's kind of it in a tight nutshell.
So, Jim, when you say one contract, basically one throat to choke, to use an
Yeah,
old phrase,
right.
are you including in that contract copiers, printers?
100%, 100%. So when I talk managed print service, so when we talk print, right, that's encompassing the hardware aspect of it. So the traditional A3, A4, but also managed print services and document workflow, the software side of the business, and really packaging it in a way that also is leveraging the synergies of managed IT services, cloud technologies, and then everything that we do. Everything that we do has a security element to it because it's so important this day and age, right? So sometimes we think of cybersecurity, we're just thinking of computers and networks and what's on my screen. But there's a huge importance on print security. And I really think going forward in the industry, that's going to be a hot topic of conversation as we continue to move down this path.
So is the business growing this year? How is it this year compared to last year?
We continue to grow, and we continue to grow two ways. One, organically, right? So we are seeing growth, organic growth, strong organic growth, as well as through strategic acquisition. So combining those two, we're really continuing to grow. Where our footprint is nationwide. We're a lot of industries outside, as you know, in the tech industry, people are cutting back, reducing headcount. We're growing, continuing to hire, opening up new offices, opening up new service areas as well. So it's been great. We're experiencing a lot of solid growth.
So it's kind of interesting to me when I talk with a bunch of dealers, whether it's in a
Mhm.
show or whatever, and I'm sure you do the same thing at various meetings. You know, you get some dealers who are like, no, 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 I'm not going there. You know, I like the core business. And
Right.
then there are people like you. I wouldn't even call you guys a dealer anymore. I don't even like that word anymore. I
Yeah.
mean, you guys are solutions providers or managed services providers. So when you speak to people, though, there seems to be all in or not all in, and very few in the middle. So what
Yeah.
is it? What is your recommendation to a dealer that's either kind of in or needs to be in? What would you tell them about the future?
I think, well, obviously they need to get in, right? I mean, you don't want to be stuck in the past. You need to be looking towards the future, and a great example is the blockbuster model, right? Where we're going to sell videotapes and you can come in and rent, and what happened with Netflix and came in and just totally changed the industry. Managed I the print technology, the print industry, I don't believe it's ever going away, because we've been saying that for years, but it is changing, right? And it's changing dramatically. I think print security is going to continue to be a hot topic, like I mentioned. But my advice, if you're not looking to strategically acquire a small, maybe a local managed IT services company who has an established footprint, has some established acumen and knowledge in the industry, is just start small. You don't have to go all in at first, but start doing one aspect of managed IT and learning. But obviously the more strategic route would be to look at an MSP or managed IT services provider in your local area, and consider bringing the two together.
So, Jim, I have to believe, and I know Novatech well enough, and certainly have heard you speak about this. So, would your
Mhm.
recommendation be as well to partner with, I don't know, ConnectWise or other partners? Who would you recommend for those people?
Absolutely, absolutely, and we have some amazing partnerships. ConnectWise being one of them, right? So right now we're actually actively doing. We just started a great campaign with them, really focused around cybersecurity and cyber awareness, and it's educational in scope. It provides great free downloadable assets that they can learn from. But leveraging and partnering with an established partner like ConnectWise, again, great partner, you can use those resources, that industry acumen, that knowledge that they bring to the table, and really jumpstart your efforts and your outreach without having to start from ground zero.
So, as you're going through these various experiences, maybe you could share with the audience. There's kind of a twofold question.
Sure.
What's the funniest thing that's ever happened to you trying to sell MSP contract?
Okay.
And so let's start with that one. What's the funniest thing that happened?
The funniest thing that happened. I don't know. Let's come back to that one. I'm gonna have to think about that one for a minute.
All right.
Funniest thing that happened.
All
I'll
right.
I'll I'll put some thought behind that one.
I want a good answer here, so give it a
Okay.
minute.
Okay.
So the other part of that question is what MSP deal, or let me rephrase. Do the salespeople in your organization, they sell MSP? They're the same salesperson. Is that a fair assessment?
They do. So we have business technology advisors. We retired the whole old account executive phrasing, and they're there to advise on tech, whether it's hardware, software, or services. Now, they may not be ultimate expert, right? So we have subject matter experts for specific things, so they can really be the focused individual that they pull in. But they're the ones that are coming out, consulting with the customer, talking with them, understanding the needs, understanding the opportunities, and then they'll pull in the right subject matter expert to really dig in and go down into the weeds and make sure that we're applying the right solution for the customer, because every opportunity is unique, right? And it's not out of the box where you're just, managed IT services in a box really isn't the right answer. It's customized for each individual company.
So when I heard you just say you did away with the old hierarchy, if you will, or the old style. How long did it take you to train? I guess the same group to do new, or was it a new group doing new?
It's a great question. Man, you got some good ones, Mike. Um, I think it's ongoing. It's ongoing. So from the existing group, one of the core fundamentals of Novatech, and I think it's such an important thing, and it's rooted in the culture of the company, is ongoing learning and development. So, every single sales professional at the company, when they first start, they go through new hire training, and then even established uh, representatives with us go through ongoing training to get what we call managed office certified, right? So they're learning from great knowledgeable individuals like Dave Mormon, who is our president, who also used to own and was the founder of Dynasys, who Novatech acquired about a little over 4 years ago. But they're learning those core fundamentals of not only managed IT, but software and solutions on that side. They're learning the hardware side, but it's not a one and done. You don't learn to ride a bike at a seminar, right? So when you're going out there, it's learning, understanding the fundamentals, going out into the world, making those calls, having those conversations, bringing in the subject matter experts, and then coming back for additional training, additional refreshers, and so forth. So, to answer your question, I would say it's an ongoing thing, and we're always looking to enhance and improve. And it's something that I love that the company is extremely focused on. It's something that Dan's extremely passionate about.
Well, Dan is a pretty special guy. I've known him for years, and his experiences and background are absolutely stellar. And bringing that experience to Novatech is just enormous. So my hat's off to Dan and your team. But if Dan were sitting on this call and I said, "Hey, Dan, you're listening to Jim talk here, and what is your brain going? Oh no, did he just say that?" Or
Probably, he probably would on something I said. No, um,
well,
no, I
the reason why I ask it is so if I had a chance to ask Dan,
yeah.
and hey, you're listening to Jim, he's obviously bullish on the business. What would he say is your greatest leadership contribution to Novatech?
I'm pausing because I want to give good thought to that. I think obviously from a marketing acumen perspective and aligning marketing to the needs of the business and the growth of it. Our number one goal from a marketing standpoint, Mike, is how do we drive more leads into the business? And to do that, there's a lot of different levers that you're pulling. Brand recognition, brand reputation, making sure the outreach is good, making sure the sales teams have the right collateral to tell the story correctly. Um, but my number one goal is how do I, when the customer or a prospect is at that moment of truth and they're trying to decide who do I go to, who should I pick up the phone or send the email to, Novatech is top of mind, right? And that's who they want to reach out to. So what we've done is we've really mapped out a very strategic buyer journey and trying to understand our buyers and it's different buyers based on or different journeys based on persona of the customer and the buyer, but it's engaging with them all along the way of that and making sure that the website, the messaging, the outreach is done in a way that's value add and not just propaganda, right? And so a lot of times you'll see advertising or website stuff that's out there and it's a lot of me, jargon, 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 and it's not answering the questions that the customers are really asking. And I think if you think about it, if you and I were on going to go shopping for something, if you were going to go shopping for a new bike, right? And you're on online, you're trying to get an answer to a question or a specific brand, and if you couldn't get that answer on the website, you're going to bounce, right? Or you're going to go elsewhere. And if the experience isn't seamless or pleasant or engaging to you as the buyer, you're going to bounce. And so part of my job and part of what we've done here at Novatech and continue to do, again, it's not a one and done, it's an ongoing journey, is to make that experience focused on the buyer and answering the questions that they're asking and then giving them clear directions to where they can continue that conversation, whether that's talking to one of our business technology advisors, downloading a usable asset like a checklist or an infographic or something like that. And then we start to become the thought leaders for them. And when they do have that moment of truth, they come back to us and they're looking to us to answer those questions for them and take them down the rest of the journey.
Does Novatech, have you implemented for lack of better definition, you know how the OEMs always have a dealer advisory council type thing? Have you implemented anything like that where you have some kind of council or collective communication with your end users?
So we're always looking at voice of customer. I think that's kind of where you're going with and
Yeah.
understanding. There's a consistent outreach that we do to listen. Hey, what are we doing right? What could we do better? Or what aren't we doing that you would like us to do? Because the needs of the customer are always changing, right? I mean, we're all evolving. There's a new business problem that we're trying to solve. But So yes, we are always doing that. As far as a council or a formalized version of that, like a get together or a CEO roundtable or something like that, we haven't done that. But there is a lot of outreach that we're doing to make sure that we're capturing the voice of the customer back and listening to the customer.
So, and again, I'm kind of wandering around here, but
No, you're good.
things are kind of they're coming together. So when you talk
Yeah.
about AI or Chat GPT, and
Yep.
how are you implementing that as either a revenue producer or some kind of efficiency machine for Novatech or both?
So AI is a unique one, right? I mean, it's the buzzword that everyone's talking about. I don't think you can get online these days without hearing something about ChatGPT or Google Bard or all the different applications that are using AI now. It seems like everyone all of a sudden has an AI feature that they're highlighting. It's like, where did this? You didn't have it before, but now you do.
Yeah.
Um, so how we're using, I'll speak to how the marketing side is using it. So we use it as a brainstorming starting point for some copywriting sometimes, right? So AI, in my opinion, isn't at the stage where it can replace an actual creative, meaning a creative marketer, a graphic designer, and so forth. I think it can help set a foundational element, like get you 30% there, 40% there. So sometimes when you're needing some creative inspiration, you can use it to kind of get you going. Um, so we'll take it sometimes when, not all the time, but sometimes when we're writing like content or um, web page content, we might use it to get us maybe 25 or 30% there. And then myself, my other copywriters on the team will go in and we'll continue to enhance it, make it sound like the voice of Novatech, right? Make sure that we have the right elements, because there's no machine out there today that understands the industry as well as somebody who's been in the industry a long period of time, right? And you also need to make sure that, again, like I said earlier, writing to the buyer, not to a machine. So we need to write to the types of questions that buyers are asking.
Yeah.
And so, which takes me to the other point. You talked about voice of customer. There's also voice of field, right? So listening to the sales reps, the sales managers, the people who are engaged, people who are answering the phones and taking service calls. What are you hearing from the customer, and what are they asking, to make sure that we're incorporating that into our message. So that's how we use it there. Now, in addition, another thing that we haven't launched yet, that's kind of exciting, that we're still in talks with and researching and figuring out how we implement, is we do want to put in AI for chat. So we've been talking to I'm trying to remember the name of the individual, but we're looking at actually building that into chat. So when a customer comes in, right, and starts
You're talking
typing,
about Hotco?
Thank you. Yes, I drew a mind blank right then. It was like, no.
I'm glad
So
I could help.
thank you. I appreciate that. So yeah, we're looking at them to help us implement an AI focused chatbot on our website. So when a customer comes in, they're typing, "Hey, I'm looking for this." It's serving up logical, customized content to them, or taking them to specific pages on the website, offering specific downloadable assets that they can do based on AI logic and machine learning as they're continuing down that journey of chatting with the bot. Now we'll still always have live chat as well, so people can pull the ripcord and talk to a live agent. But
You know?
it's all about, again, how do we enhance the experience for the visitor on the website and bring value to them? And if we can do that leveraging human and AI technology, it's the best of both worlds.
Well, the reason why I'm familiar with Baco, I think we've done a lot of research here, and they're a great company. So I'd be
Yep,
curious to see how it all works out. And by the way, they're going to be attending ECS as well in
that's awesome.
January. Yeah, so they're a good partner. So moving forward, are you
Yeah.
afraid? Are you afraid of ChatGPT and AI? What keeps you up at night about it?
It's really the unknown, right? I think I tell you the thing that freaks me out about AI is the voice, uh, the way it can mimic a voice and make it sound like the individual. I think it can be used for good and it can be used for evil. So the good use would be amazing, like say someone couldn't talk, or you think of like Stephen Hawking. If he could actually talk and you could hear his voice, his real voice, his authentic voice versus that robotic voice. Um, I always fear like, what if someone calls me? It's like, "Hey, Mike, how's it going?" And it's not you on the other end of the phone; it's someone else impersonating you. That part scares me. As far as from a marketing perspective, I think it's not going. I don't think it's something marketers should be afraid of. I think it's something we need to embrace and utilize, just like any other tool, right? If there was an easier way to do something, or a way to get even better or sharper or faster, leverage the tools. You have to embrace it. And I spend a lot of time every week learning more about different features and different applications that leverage AI. I mean, heck, Photoshop by itself is doing some amazing things. Adobe, with AI that you can do. I mean, it speeds our graphic design team up so much. It's amazing.
So the whole voice thing, I'm very intrigued by because
Yeah.
I am expecting maybe in a couple of months to sound like Frank Sinatra. I think that can happen. What do you think?
I think, yeah, sure, yeah, absolutely, Mike. Yeah, I mean, you should explore that. You should explore that.
I'm working on it. And speaking of Frank Sinatra,
Yes.
do you have a favorite Frank Sinatra song?
Well, of course I do, man. Of course I do. So my favorite song from Old Blue Eyes, right? That was his nickname. Was My
Yeah.
Way. I love that song. I mean, you can't go wrong with that song.
Well,
So
it's kind of the Italian national anthem. So it's certainly the Frank Sinatra national anthem. I love
yeah.
that song. It is absolutely a favorite of mine.
What's funny is I heard an Elvis version of that song.
He killed it.
He did, but it still wasn't as good as when Frank sings it.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
there will be only one Frank Sinatra. I'm sorry to say, although we did lose a great one with Tony Bennett recently. So my second.
True. Very true. Very true.
All right. So I know you're very active with your family,
Yes.
doing a lot of things. I became aware of something that's very close to your heart. And would you share it with the audience? Because I think it's a very important cause, and it's a very great, I think, reference about you.
Yeah, yeah. So, my kids, both my son and daughter, my son is 16, my daughter's 14, are active for the last few years, have been a part of a robotics team. And so, which is a part of, it's a worldwide initiative. I mean, I'm sure everyone's been, seen it online, and there's big worldwide competitions. But this year was their first year that they decided they wanted to start their own team. And so it's a lot of work, Mike. It's a lot of work, but the team is growing. They've got some great sponsors, and I want to thank you again for being a sponsor. Um, but um, but yeah, no, it's exciting. So they're going to build a robot. The robot is going to be competing here in Tennessee, and then if they continue to move forward, they'll go into bigger competitions, and it can go all the way over to what they call worlds, which is a world competition. But what's cool about it is they actually have to build it, they have to code it, so they're learning coding, they're learning engineering, and learning how to use CAD, 3D printers, all these things. It's a lot of work, a lot of planning, weekly meetings. But so my kids are homeschooled, and other kids in the neighborhood, and not only neighborhood, in the local area who are homeschooled, continue to reach out, and we're growing the team. So it's this great robotics team that has a lot of local homeschooled kids, and they're just really excited about it. So I appreciate you allowing me the chance to mention it on the show.
No, I think it's a wonderful thing for you and your family. And I hope people who listen will go, hey, that's not a bad idea. We should think about that, or at least support you too.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun, and it's a great, it's neat because you really see the kids dive into strategic thinking and problem solving, and they're using, computer, but also tools and electronics, and building something. So you're seeing their mind just really engage in a lot of different ways, and it's just it's a great opportunity for them. And my kids have loved it. My son is the one who started in it, and then my daughter's like, well, I want to do that too, so she's in it now, and it just continues to grow. So, but thank you so much for allowing me to mention it.
No, I think it's a lot of fun. Congratulations. Keep it going.
Yeah.
So if your wife was on the phone, if she was on this call and I said, what is your wife's name?
Rachel.
So, hey, Rachel, what does Jim do that drives you absolutely crazy? What would she say?
Oh man, the list is long. The list is long, Mike.
Yeah, I know. Pick
So
one.
what do I do that drives her crazy? I will tell you one thing I do that drives her crazy. So I am a little OCD about keeping my car clean. So I am cleaning that thing nonstop. Like on the weekends, I wash it, I clean it, I vacuum it, I'm waxing it, and well, actually putting ceramic on it and all this stuff. And she's like, Jim, how clean does a car need to be? And so like I said, that drives her nuts a little bit. I think it's a good thing. Um, the So that drives her nuts. I am the world's worst cook. Okay, so I burn water, and it's not from a lack of trying, man. It's just there's skills some people have, and there's skills some people don't, and that is not one of my skills. So, so yeah, probably a little annoyed that hey, I'm not cooking more, but she doesn't want me in the kitchen, man. She doesn't want me in the kitchen.
Well, I have to admit, I'm the same way about cars. Now, the flip side of that is, since I asked you about, what drives her nuts, what does she absolutely think is the greatest thing about you?
Oh, um,
And then you got to ask her if you're right later.
I would like to say I just genuinely care about people, and and want to help. Um, I think we have a finite amount of time on this earth, right? And if there's an opportunity to help someone and make someone feel good and put a smile on their face, do it. And so every day I'm always trying to figure out how can I make someone feel valued, make someone feel special, and put a smile on their face. And there's a great quote I heard one time. It's people won't remember what you said. People won't necessarily remember what you do, but they'll remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And so um, that's something that I just take to heart, and I think it's important to just to be a good person out there, right?
Well, I love that. I am totally aligned with you. I always tell people just inspire one person a day
Yeah.
and you can
Yep.
change the world. So I love that. So let's turn the corner and bring this baby home. If
Yeah.
you have two or three things, you've got a bunch of dealers and frankly, the OEMs, they all listen to the show. Uh,
Yep.
what would you tell the industry, about what they need to do and how excited are you about the future? What's the best advice you would give a good dealer right now? Do this.
Yeah. So from a marketing perspective, I'll give you three core tips, right? So I think the thing a lot of people will do is they'll go out and they'll try to spend a lot of money on paid social ads or paid Google ads and stuff like that. And while it's like the microwave version, right? It will get you some fast results or fast pops. It's not necessarily sustainable, right? Because the minute you turn that off, it goes off. So I'll tell you 3 best practices for SEO and the website, and I'll keep it tight. So the first one is make sure your website is technically sound. So make sure you're using a good CMS or a good code. It's hosted on a solid platform that's well known. I'm always willing to coach and mentor if anyone wants to reach out, and I'm happy to give tips on that. And also make sure that your website's optimized for mobile. Today everyone is using their phones and their tablets, sometimes more than their computers. And you can have a really good website that looks good on a laptop and a big screen on a monitor, but looks horrible on your phone. So make sure that it's optimized for mobile, both speed and look. The second thing is content, right? You heard me mention earlier, make sure that the content you're writing is written to your prospect and answering the questions that they want answered. And you can get if you're like, well, I don't know what questions they want answered, talk to your reps, talk to the people answering the phones, ask them what questions are coming in when people call in. And that's a great foundational. There's also tools that you can leverage. And maybe we'll need to have round 2 of this and I can share some of those, but some great tools you can leverage that'll help with understanding the right questions, understanding the right keywords to weave into your content. But make sure your content is optimized for the reader and the user. The second thing is be frequent with content and put new content out there. So we at Novatech, so I have the team putting blogs up on the website 3 to 4 times a week. Now, you don't have to do that. Be consistent though. So if all you have is maybe one marketing professional and they can do 1 blog a month, okay, do 1 blog a month, but do 1 blog a month and be consistent. The third thing is linking. So there's 2 types of links. There's internal linking and then there's backlinking. So internal linking is, so let's use, you were talking about managed services earlier. So let's use managed print services. Let's say you have a subpage for managed print services and you have the right keyword. So let's manage print. Now you write a blog on managed print services, and that's also on your website. Have a link between those 2 pages back and forth. What that does is as Google's crawling your site, it sees relevance and it's saying, okay, well, this company also has another page and it's optimized for me, Google. And so when it serves up those, when someone's in there and typing in, managed print services, it's going to start serving your stuff up organically over time. The fourth one, or the backlinking, is leveraging links from other companies or other publications. So, think about your partners. Who are you partner with? You used ConnectWise as an example earlier. If I did a blog with ConnectWise and they referenced Novatech and it went back to Novatech and vice versa, that's sharing what we would call Google juice, right? And it's also showing Google the relevance again for that keyword and topic. So those sometimes are a little harder to get because you have to convince them to do it, but it does add value. It's a lot of value actually. But the other one is equally as important. And then the fourth one, if I were to give you a fourth one, which is kind of a bonus, it's citations. So if you don't know what a citation is, that's your name, address, phone number in directories, online directories. So you would be surprised how many incorrect citations are probably sitting out there for your business, meaning they might have your name and your address right, but they have a digit wrong in your phone number, or they have your phone number right, but they have your address wrong. And what happens is when Google says ABC company on your website, and this is the right address, phone number, and everything, and it goes back out to a directory, and if it doesn't match up, it says there's a discrepancy. So there must be something wrong. So it kind of continues to suppress that information down. So the more you can have that alignment, the better. Those core elements, Mike, if you just focus on those, it's not rocket science. It really isn't. And it might sound ultra technical. It really isn't. But just do that consistently over and over again. You'll start to see some really good results. Right now, if you were to Google most keywords for that we're striving towards for Novatech, we're popping page one for those organically. And here, I'm going to test you now. If you were shopping for something, what's your favorite motorcycle brand manufacturer?
Well, Harley Davidson.
Okay, so let's say you said Harley Davidson dealers or stores near me, right? And Google pulls up some results, and you see all these ads. And then do you click on those ads, or do you scroll down more towards the middle of the page and see the number one organic popping?
Yeah,
Or
I'm pretty guilty of scrolling.
Most people are. Most people are. So there's the case in point, is that organic value has so much merit. And so by doing what I just kind of outlined, it's a great stepping stone and great roadmap to getting yourself on page one. Now, granted, it's a very high level overview, but that would be my advice. And then, but if I were to boil it down to one thing is just be consistent. Whatever you do, just be consistent.
Well, I think that's great counsel. And to be candid with you, I am amazed. Well, at my own company, I don't do a very good job, with much of that because of resources. But it's so critically important. You have to spend time to do it. So no matter what dealer size, the advice you just gave them is absolutely true, especially the consistency part.
Yeah.
And the other thing, in closing, I mean, honestly, the thing that disappoints me, I think, with some of the things that happen in our channel sometimes is that we miss the simple things.
Right.
So we talk a big game, we may walk a big game, but sometimes, our websites are wrong or not productive or I had this happen to me not too long ago. Somehow my email wasn't working on LinkedIn. So I started getting email from people or phone calls from people saying your email's not working. And I was like, how could that happen? How long has that been going on? So
Right.
I think scrutiny, make sure that you have right people looking at those things. That's great advice. Really great advice, Jim.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And, I mean, and you don't have to be everywhere. You don't have to be on all the platforms. I often see people, I am on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Threads, Instagram, hey, I'm now on TikTok. It's like, it's too much. It's too much for large marketing teams. So just pick one and be really good at it. If you're going to pick one social platform, obviously pick LinkedIn. So.
Well, again, it's been a great show. Jim, I'm honored and grateful that you decided to join us. And if you would pass along to your team and especially to our buddy Dan Cooper, how grateful we are that he allowed you to come on and let us promote Novatech. And we'll look forward to seeing you at ECS in 24.
Yeah, I look forward to being there, and I absolutely will tell everyone you said hi, and I'll tell Dan you said hey as well. And thank you. Thanks for having me on. It was a lot of fun.
It is. My way.
My way.
We'll talk to you again soon. Thanks. Appreciate it, Jim.